Likewise, many scientists had tried to give classifications starting from civilization. So likewise here what happened? The next one is a Whittaker classification. Whittaker had given a classification called as 5 kingdom classification. He had categorized the living organisms into 5 kingdoms, and what was the criteria that was followed by this scientist? So here the criteria is a most important thing which help in giving the best or the more suitable system of classification. So for this one he had taken one criteria as a cell structure, that is whether the cell structure is unicellular or the multicellular in their nature, or the other characters features related to the cell structure. Then nature of thallus or the plant body organization, whether it is made up of one cell or more than one cell, and the mode of nutrition, that is whether these are either autotrophic or heterotrophic. Then mode of reproduction, which method of reproduction is done by these living organisms. Apart from this one, the phylogeny, that is evolutionary changes or the aspects, or we can call it as a phylogeny, have been considered by the scientists for the classification, such that when this phylogeny have been taken, so in the due course of its evolution, how the changes had been taken place in that particular species can be easily be identified. That is a way how this criteria have been taken by this Whittaker scientist. And what are the 5 kingdoms according to the scientist is, first kingdom includes Monera. The second kingdom is Protista. Third one is fungi. Fourth one is plantae. And the fifth one is Animalia. So these are the 5 kingdoms that have been given by Whittaker scientists based on this criteria. So here why they have been categorized into 5 groups means they had considered one particular criteria. So the one which are satisfying that particular criteria that have been kept under individual kingdom. So basically we can say that Monera includes all unicellular prokaryotic organisms. Here when you are saying them as organisms, which includes both animals and also plants, that means Monera includes both the plants and animals, but they are unicellular and prokaryotic in their nature. So let us take one example here which includes unicellular prokaryotic organisms. So next one is a Protista, which includes unicellular eukaryotic organisms. Here Protista also contains both animals and also plants. They are unicellular in their nature, but their actual characteristic feature is the eukaryotic nature. So before this Chlamydomonas is one which is a part of Plantae or in the 2 kingdom classification, and Euglena is one which is an animal. Paramecium is also animal which is unicellular and eukaryotic in the nature. In the earlier classifications, Chlamydomonas was present in one kingdom and Euglena and Paramecium were kept under some other kingdom. But the positions or the organisms have been shifted from one kingdom to the other kingdom. Here based on the criteria that have been taken by Whittaker, Chlamydomonas, Euglena and Paramecium, which were kept under different kingdoms in earlier classification, now their place have been shifted to Protista. And next one is a fungi. Fungi includes heterotrophic eukaryotic organisms. Actually, this fungi includes only the plants, but the special character related to the plants is they have cell wall which is non-cellulosic. That is, it is made up of a chemical called as chitin. Whereas, of course, the plantae includes eukaryotic and multicellular organisms. Whereas Animalia includes eukaryotic, multicellular animals. So in the plantae, organisms includes only plants, not animals, excluding animals. Whereas here Animalia, eukaryotic, multicellular animals were placed. So likewise, based on this criteria, little bit clarity was there. Whereas Monera includes only unicellular, prokaryotic, plants and animals, that is organisms. Protista includes unicellular, eukaryotic organisms which includes both plants and animals. Fungi includes only heterotrophic eukaryotic organisms which have the cell wall in the form of chitin. Plantae includes eukaryotic, multicellular plants, whereas Animalia includes eukaryotic, multicellular animals. So this is the basic characterization that can be observed in the 5 kingdom classification that was given by Whittaker scientist. Let us see the comparative study of 5 kingdoms that have been given by Whittaker scientist. So let us take some characteristic features and how these 5 kingdoms are differentiated or deviating from the particular character, that let us see in the form of a table. So first let us write the character. In this, the 5 kingdoms are Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae and Animalia. Let us take the first character as a cell structure. Here Monera includes only prokaryotic organisms. The cell structure is prokaryotic, whereas in all other groups it is eukaryotic in its nature. In Protista it is eukaryotic, fungi it is eukaryotic, plantae eukaryotic, and in Animalia also it is eukaryotic. So that means Monera is the only group of 5 kingdoms which is prokaryotic in its nature. So when we discuss about this characteristic feature, prokaryotic means the cell or the organism which does not have a membrane bound nucleus. That is, actually the nucleus will contain 2 membranes around it. That nuclear membrane is completely absent. Apart from that one, the nucleolus and nucleoplasm is also absent. And the nucleus is represented in the form of naked circular double stranded DNA. Generally we call it as a nucleoid or genophore. So here in Monera the nucleus is called as nucleoid or genophore, whereas in all others the membrane bound nucleus is present along with the nucleoplasm, nucleolus and the chromatin material. Second character is the cell wall. Here in Monera the cell wall may be present, but it will be non-cellulosic, and this is made up of a polysaccharide and amino acid. Made up of polysaccharides and amino acid. Whereas Protista it have the cell wall, but this is of various type. Whereas fungus also contains the cell wall, it is having cell wall. It is also non-cellulosic. Already we were discussing, instead of cellulose, it contains a nitrogen containing polysaccharide that is called as chitin. And when it comes to the plantae, plantae contains cell wall, which is cellulosic in its nature. Which is cellulosic, or we can say that cell wall contains cellulose and pectin like substances. Whereas animalia, here it is completely absent. Cell wall is completely absent. Here cell membrane is present, which is considered to be the outermost limit of the cell in animalia or in all animal cells. Next, coming to the characteristic feature, that is the presence of chloroplast. As we know that the chloroplast is a cell organelle which is concerned with the photosynthesis and preparation of the food materials. Monera, here it is completely absent. And that means Monera includes majority of them as a heterotrophic organisms. Protista, here it is present, but not in all of them, present in some of them. Whereas in fungi it is absent, because fungi are heterotrophic in their nature, and plantae, they have chloroplast in them. Chloroplast is present. Whereas animalia, they are not autotrophic, that is they are heterotrophic in their nature. So in animalia also it is completely, chloroplast is completely absent. Then let us come to the nuclear membrane, that is the nature of the nucleus. In the first characteristic feature only we had discussed that why they are so called as prokaryotic organisms. So here they lack cell membrane, that is it is absent. Whereas in all others which are eukaryotic in their nature, all of them contains the nuclear membrane. So nuclear membrane is present in all other groups. Then body organization. Body organization includes whether they are made up of how many cells, that is one cell or more than one cell. So based on that one, already we said that Monera and Protista includes unicellular organisms. So that means these are unicellular in their nature. Whereas fungi contains many cells, that is multicellular condition is present, and these cells are generally loosely arranged. Tissue organization is present. Whereas in the perfect tissue organization can be seen in plantae and animalia. Tissue and tissue systems are present in plants, that is cellular organization is perfect, and in animalia also the tissues are present. The cellular organization is very much been present in this group of organisms. Next characteristic feature is the mode of nutrition. Here Monera are mostly autotrophic. In the same way, when they are autotrophic, some may perform photosynthesis, that is photosynthetic, and at the same time some are chemosynthetic or chemosynthetic also, or chemoautotrophic. And some of them are heterotrophic also. When they are heterotrophic, they cannot prepare their own food materials, and they may exist in the form of parasitic nature or some in the form of saprophytes. Parasitic means they derive the nutrition from the living host, whereas saprophytic means they derive the nutrition from the dead host, that is they depend upon the dead and decaying organic matter. Here when it comes to the nutrition, here these are protistans are photosynthetic, and some animals are also been included in protista. That's the reason why some of them are heterotrophic also. And when it comes to fungi are heterotrophic. They may survive on living host, that is parasitic, or sometimes they may survive on the dead and decaying material, that is saprophytic also. And at the same time, some of the fungi are existing as symbionts, that is the mutual beneficial association between two different types of living organisms. So here in the symbiotic method of nutrition, the dependent does not cause any harm to the host organism. Then plantae, these are photosynthetic, or we can call them as autotrophic in their nature. Whereas animalia are heterotrophic. Here they may show either holozoic type of nutrition or parasitic type of nutrition. Likewise, lot of diversity can be seen in the nutrition also. So these are the characteristic features where we can basically differentiate the 5 kingdoms that have been classified by Whittaker scientist.